Hey everyone, I'm back. I have a pen in my hand. You know what that means. I'm going to talk for most of the video. Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Bartelt. I'm a podcast producer, engineer, editor. You know me. Probably, my bet is most of you know me because you've watched other vlogs of mine before. On here, I talk about my podcast production process. I've been really enjoying doing this, both to share behind the scenes, but also selfishly to hold myself accountable. And gang, do I have some really exciting updates to share with you about all of the shows I'm working on, but specifically four. I'm going to talk a lot about the shows that I've been talking about. Oh boy, we can land it. Don't worry. I'm going to talk a lot about the shows that I've been talking to you about today. Found it. One of those landings where you're on the plane and you're like, I think we landed, which is a good landing. This was a bumpy one, and it's probably more of that. It was a bumpy one, and you're like, I'm not sure if we landed. And then you look out the window and you're like, I guess we landed. That was too much about one sentence. So let's start from the top. Chronologically, the first update, and finally a new show, and it's technically an established show, but a new show that I'm going to be producing, new to me, in other words, is the podcast Broad Ideas. It's with Rachel Bilson and Olivia Allen. They're super funny. They've been best friends for like 30 years. You might know Rachel from The OC and Olivia from Seventh Heaven and a bunch of shows. And yeah, it's kind of just like them chatting every week, like a fun light chat show, and they have guests on and just, interview them. And it's a fun hangout show, frankly. We had Rachel and Olivia on We're Here to Help. And I talk about this a little bit in an episode that's probably out of Broad Ideas when this comes out. But Olivia did this thing that blew my mind, that when people ask me like, oh, have you worked on anything recently that's like, I don't know, interesting, frankly. This was probably over a year ago, but I still can't believe it. So with We're Here to Help, it's a call-in show. I would get thousands of emails from people asking for Jake and Gareth and the guest to like help solve their, silly, ridiculous problem. One person called in when Rachel and Olivia were the guest, and she said, I have a crush on my doctor, but my dentist, and I don't know if he's married. And so Jake, Gareth, Rachel, and Olivia spent 30 minutes coming up with all these really creative ways to find out and, maybe ask in a way that didn't seem weird or creepy or anything. And it was pretty challenging. And eventually Olivia just said, you know what? Give me the dentist phone number. I'll just call right now. And the caller went, okay, here's the number. Olivia called the number, and the person at the front desk answered, and Olivia was like, hi, this is Mary Beth. We're with the Los Angeles so-and-so organization. We want to give flowers to Dr. Robert's wife. She sent a really generous donation, and we just, we can't remember her name, though. I'm so embarrassed. Do you mind sharing that? And the person at the front desk went, oh, yeah, it's Mary. And she went, thank you so much, dear. Have a great day. And then hung up and went, okay, any other questions? It was such a boss move. It was so cool. Anyway, all that being said, Rachel and Olivia are a ton of fun, and I'm super excited to be working with them on the show. So each week going forward, I will share updates with producing Broad Ideas as well. First show, Broad Ideas. Second show, what is my code for it? Extra. We did our first 2 recordings of the show. This was months in the making. I first met with them in November, maybe early November, and we finally recorded. It was a ton of fun. I was nervous about it because it's 3 people who haven't had a podcast before. They've all been on podcasts, but they've never hosted a podcast before. And so, I'm a vibes dude. I wanted it to be a really fun, just experience for them. And ideally, obviously, the recordings go as good as they possibly can. But I don't want to say more importantly, but as importantly, maybe more importantly, I don't know. I just really wanted them to have a good time. And we did. It was so much fun. And I think part of it is the three of them have a great dynamic, the three hosts. And also, without spoiling anything, the guests on the show are super unique and truly no one I've ever recorded before, intentionally so to speak. So it was really fun and interesting. I was stressing because the guests were both easier and harder to book. I'll just say they're not celebrities, so I'm not dealing with rounds of publicists, managers, agents, and that annoying back and forth. I'm dealing with uh, normal people. I don't know. Let's just say that people who are not just people who are more likely to respond to emails, which I really appreciate. And it was an interesting challenge booking the guest. And we were doing a couple episodes on Monday, a couple episodes on Tuesday. And so I had to book like 6 guests. And then we did some additional smaller things as well. So it ended up being like 9 or 10 guests. Actually, that's not true. And here's why. Here's the thing that worked out with this, and I was nervous about it, that it was going to be bad, is I wanted to get, 3 guests Monday, 3 guests Tuesday. I was only able to get 2 guests for Monday and 2 guests for Tuesday. However, we did go over the time on both of those interviews and the additional stuff that we recorded. So it actually worked out pretty well. And I almost want to say, of course, I'm going to say this, like opposite of grass is always greener, is I'm like, when I was driving home, I said, oh, actually, if I booked the 3 people for each day, that actually would have been really stressful and hard. And so I was very much doubling down on a thing that was just, I don't want to say a mistake, but it was hard to book that many people. So it actually worked out very well, and we had a really fun time. We did like a photo shoot for the album art on Tuesday, which was really cool. And yeah, so that show is officially in the recording stage. We're doing another recording next week. We're doing a few in March. The most challenging part of that show will be booking the guest, because they're super unique, not as stressful and frankly frustrating as booking celebrities, but the guest is a very important part of the show. As it is with Broad Ideas as well. The booking for Broad Ideas will also be pretty important. So super excited. That felt like a huge win. That recording went really well, and we had a really fun time. So next I would say, I should say that I should start editing it, but really I'm just going to keep focusing on booking guests for the upcoming recordings. That kind of foreshadows to-do list stuff that we'll talk about in a minute as well. So after Extra recorded, I had a brief chat with the network that we pitched the show Mental for. And I would say with this show as well, I haven't done something like this in 5 or 6 years, probably more, where we really started from the very, very beginning with this, of like chatting about what we wanted the show to be about. Did we want it to be on a network? Like, what did we want to do with this show, and where did we see the show? And 1, 2, 3 years, is it existing then? A very blue sky conversation. From there to on Tuesday, the network that we pitched it to officially greenlit the show. So I'm very, very excited about that. Honestly, felt so satisfying. I think because it was just started from the very, very beginning. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that pilot process as well, and how I went about it, and a few things that I think helped close the deal for us and solidify like an official offer from the network that we're going to accept. Those, recording Extra and getting the green light on Mental the same day, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. This is a really, really, really exciting week. So that's 3 right there. 3 freaking shows, all kind of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday happening simultaneously. And then Wednesday night, I worked with Kate, who I've talked about, Kate Dillon, aka my sister. She made some incredible album artwork for a new show that we're going to be doing on the Hollywood Handbook Patreon. Little sneak peek, and I'm very excited about that. And so the hosts love the album artwork for it as well. And so now we're kind of in the next stage with that show of when do we want to launch it. So a lot of these things will be happening, I would say late February, late March, early April, um, which gives us a lot of time to prep for these 4. Well, one of the shows, like Broad Ideas, is already happening. And so that one is already on HeadGum. We're recording episodes. It's already out. And they've already done 143 episodes before joining HeadGum. So they're just continuing their weekly Monday releases of that show. You can check out the videos of that show are on YouTube as well. So you can see me in there a little bit as well. And Mental and Extra are now, both greenlit. We are recording both of them actively. And the new Patreon show, we know what the show is. And I just have to figure out when we want to record it and when we want to start releasing episodes. So, huge week since I last chatted with you. Very exciting. All 4 of these shows are happening. When I did my first vlog, it was like, maybe I'll have 2 shows. Maybe I won't. That will be kind of embarrassing if both of them don't happen. Now we have 4 new shows, and all 4 of them are happening on top of all of the other shows I work on that are as important to me. They're all very important to me. So I want to keep all shows happy, and I want to keep, the good graces and good vibes going with all my hosts because, I work really hard with all of them, and I want to be very careful not to spread myself too thin and turn into like a quantity over quality. So I can confidently say I'm at my cap. I'm at my peak. I can't do any more shows. Obviously, adding 4 is freaking wild, but I'm working with not only really talented and really funny people, but really kind and generous people. And so I think, I'm feeling really good about 2025. Do I have any other big updates? One of the, this is exclusive. I'm not going to lie, a little sneak peek here. One of the hosts of one of those shows is going to be a tri-month guest. So that's officially confirmed. So I have one of my 4 tri-month guests confirmed, which is super exciting. It's 2 weeks away from the beginning of tri-month. Here's the tricky thing is they are the last episode of tri-month. So I don't have my first 3 weeks confirmed yet. It's been pretty challenging. Reached out to a bunch of people, have gotten a bunch of no responses. Honestly, no's would be more helpful than following up for a 3rd time. So still working on tri-month guest. Now, though, that I have all of the new stuff kind of locked in and there's not like this gray area, will they, won't they thing, I know the future of all of those. Now I'm like, okay, I really got to put my head down and focus on tri-month. So I guess that's a great segue into the to-do list. So last week I was talking about staying organized. And so how do you stay organized when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 shows you have to produce and manage and run? I think a big part of it for me is I need to find time for myself every single day. That kind of sounds like I need to find time to jerk off, but that's not it. So basically, I would say there's two things that are on the top of the priority list every week. It is what is being recorded next and what is being released next. And so that's kind of how I look at my days is, do I have a recording tomorrow? Is if there is a if that show has guests, is a guest booked, and what are we doing? Um, and then the second thing is, what do I have to edit that needs to come out next? Why they are in that order specifically is, if I do a bad job with the first one, the second one becomes much harder. I have to spend way more time editing if the show's sloppy, disorganized, it's running out of steam. So if the recording goes really well, I don't have to spend hours and hours editing. Uh, I'm always trying to set future Kevin up for success. So one way I do that is try to book as many rock solid guests as I can, setting the host up so that they feel like they're comfortable and confident and, in a good mood, I guess. I can't really control that, but I can try. If I do those things, I don't have to spend additional time editing, cutting stuff out. So that's kind of how I look at every day. So let's get into these shows. I was chatting with Kate about this, and I kind of view it as I have three worlds that I'm in control of. Oh my goddamn Thanos. There's three different planets. We'll just say that. The Hollywood Handbook planet, the Action Boys planet, the Yo, is this racist planet. So why are those planets to me? Because each of them have several continents that I have to manage. And I guess the episodes are the states and or the countries, and the hosts are the presidents, and the guests are the mayors. Found it. So Hollywood Handbook planet. There are currently 3 shows a week on there. There used to be 4. Foosballs is taking a hiatus during the off season. The Super Bowl just ended. We had a good chat and we're like, doesn't make sense to keep doing weekly episodes during the off season. We're going to jump in for special, important events like the draft. And honestly, there's a few throughout the summer. So we're going to do specific episodes for foosballs, and this also, kind of segues into the new show that's going to be on there as well. But basically, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday right now. Hollywood Handbook comes out on Tuesdays. The pro version, the bonus show, comes out on Wednesdays, and the flagrant ones comes out on Thursdays. So that is my Hollywood Handbook universe. Like I said, the thing that I'm thinking about first, my to-do list with that is just because that is like a high volume of releasing content. It's a high volume show, whatever, is just staying organized with our recording schedule. Because if that falls apart, if flagrant ones can only record at a certain time and handbook can only record at a certain time and pro version, if one of them implodes, they all kind of implode. So I just have to it's like dominoes. I just have to be careful with all 3 of their schedules. And like I said, for the last few weeks, the more I can get ahead with that show, with this Hollywood Handbook universe, the better I feel. When I'm trying to find guests for the same week that we're recording, it's really stressful. It doesn't feel, it's preventable. I don't need to be doing that. I can be booking people out several weeks out. So if I can do that, amazing. So that's kind of always on the top of my to-do list, is just staying ahead of our recording schedule. If it was just handbook and not 3, coming soon, 4 shows a week, my priorities would probably be different. But yeah, I've talked about this with Emma Erdbrink and a bunch of other producers. So much of podcast producing can just come down to scheduling. So that's really important. The editing is not super hard with these shows. I'm just kind of listening, um, cutting dead air, adjusting mic levels, and occasionally trimming content. Obviously, if there's anything that they want to cut, no questions asked, I cut it. And if it ever feels like, we're losing steam or something, or there's a better cut to the end of the episode, maybe I'll make that cut. But yeah, these shows are not super challenging to edit the way other shows are and were. So what's nice about that is then that allows me to spend more time on show growth ideas, which is part of why I'm really pushing for this new show that we're doing, and guest booking. So yeah, that's my Hollywood Handbook world. Um, Focusing on scheduling and editing and kind of general show growth right now, kind of specifically with the Patreon. So there's also some technical things that will be coming very soon that I'm really excited about that have been requested for years and years and are related to a pinned post on our Patreon for over 2 years, that is going to be resolved in a major way. That will be a huge win for us. We also got our website, patreon.com/Hollywood Handbook, got like a major upgrade last week. It normally just was white with all this dead space on the left and right. Now there's this amazing banner image of Sean Hayes and Io, and it says Hollywood Handbook and Friends. And then you can kind of organize it. We've organized it by like collection. So it's like latest post, Hollywood Handbook, the pro version, the flagrant ones, masterclass, subtitles on, the formula ones, Carl calls his cousin. It's all there in I think, a better way for our Patreon. I've talked to other creators who have said, like, that's cool for you. That's not what ours should look like. They want theirs to look understandably a different way that suits their needs better. Because we're a mini network, I kind of like this layout more for us. So I think it's an upgrade for us. It'll be interesting to see what other creators do when they update their landing page. So new landing page, some major technical things behind the scenes are hopefully going to be updated pretty soon that I don't know. I might be hyperbolic. I think it could be pretty huge for us. Again, it's the biggest complaint we ever got. So I'm really excited to 4 years later put it to bed. So that's the handbook universe. Don't have any crazy updates other than obviously Try Month's coming up. So top thing right now is just trying to lock in those other 3 guests. I feel bad because people are really excited about Try Month every year. We always pull it off, however way we manage to. And so I feel bad doing this weekly vlog being like, God damn, Try Month is so hard. But I don't know. I guess that's the point. So I don't know. I just felt kind of bad that I've seen a few comments. People were like, man, I'm really looking forward to this. And then I'm watching the video and I'm just like, this is so stressful. So that's Hollywood Handbook for you right now. The Hollywood Handbook universe. Things are doing great with Sean Hayes and Carl. So I'm feeling good. I just remembered a year and a half ago, printed out sheet music, something I haven't done in a long time. This is an alto sax solo in E flat for the French experimental metal group called Igorrr, Igorrr. They have a song called Humus, I believe it's pronounced. And it's one of the coolest, craziest songs I've ever heard. My wife, for Christmas 2 years ago, I think, maybe my birthday, I think it was my birthday, bought me this really cool thing called a mallet station, where it's kind of like a MIDI controller, but you can play mallets on it. And so I printed out this saxophone solo to play it on my mallet station. I didn't get very far because it is 232 beats per minute. And if you're not a musician, that is pretty fast. But that was on top of my legal pad and music rocks. That's my point. Okay, Action Boys. I'm the editor of that show. So really, it's just trying to get ahead of editing the pod because their episodes are often over 3 hours long. And so I've had a few recently where I was editing the episode at like 10:30 at night until, 1, 2 in the morning. And I never want to be doing that. And it's, 9 times out of 10 preventable because they record, normally pretty far in advance. They normally have like 1, 2, sometimes 3 episodes banked, which is amazing. And so with that, they have Action Boys that comes out on Mondays, Shadow Wolves, which is a bonus show on an additional tier that's the last Wednesday of the month, and then Zombie Squad, which is the second Wednesday of the month. That's the highest tier that they have. That's recorded here, and it always is a really fun time. It's the only time I get to like record the Action Boys, and it's just fun hanging out with them. They're awesome guys. They're freaking beasts, man. I mean, you can see, I believe, probably with Graphtray on, their Patreon just going up and up and up. And so very cool to be a part of that and to be able to edit that show. And yeah, they're really great. So that's the Action Boys Planet, and not a super, I don't want to say not a super challenging because the length of the episodes are insane. But that's really the only challenging part is just like how long the episodes are. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I've said this before. I'll say it again. It's my favorite podcast that I edit. It's so much fun to listen to. And they sometimes say things for me where they're like, Kevin, cut this out, but I have to say this story. And so they were joking last week. They're like, Kevin gets his own little podcast. It's like my little freaking treats. So, but they don't have guests. I don't have to book people for them. They record most of, every Action Boys episode, they record on Zoom themselves. I'm just receiving audio to edit every week. It's the dream. It's super cool. So, yeah, I'm really just thinking about editing it and just making sure I'm looking a few days out. Like today's Thursday. I have not edited Monday's episode. I should really get started on that tonight. I really don't want to be editing Action Boys on Sunday nights whenever I can. That's the Action Boys Planet. Third one is the Yo, Is This Racist Planet. That's Tawny Newsome and Andrew T. And they have 3 different release schedules here. Yo, Is This Racist, which has over 1,200 episodes. God damn. Andrew did 15-minute episodes Monday through Thursday, I think, for like 5 years. And they were like 15-minute episodes. So that was a chunk of it. But Andrew's been doing the show for over 10 years for sure. Shout out Andrew and Tawny. They're amazing. They're so fun to work with. So anyway, that show comes out every other week. And Yo Can We Live, which is their paywalled content. It's under suboptimalpods.com. That has Yo Can We Live every Friday, which is just a 30-minute chat show with the 3 of us. Super easy to record and edit. Sometimes we just miss it because our schedules get mixed up. And so with the Yo, Is This Racist world, I should really shout out my associate producer / assistant engineer / assistant editor. Honestly, my saving grace, AJ McKeon, who I brought on, I think last August, so a year and a half ago, to help me with all the shows that I work on. And he is extremely helpful on everything. He was a lifesaver on We're Here to Help. Truly could not have done the show without him. But something he does with all of my shows is he sets up the sessions for me, which makes it way easier for me to edit. And so basically everything on here except Action Boys, he is taking the audio, setting it up for me, and then I'm just like able to just hit play and boom, start editing. It's so awesome. And he makes my job so much easier. with Yo's This Racist and Yo Can We Live, and Suboptimal. With the Yo Planet, he does a first pass of edits for me. And so when I'm listening to the Yo Planet, I'm actually listening to like the first pass, second pass. I don't know what the correct one would be. The AJ edit of the episode, which makes it even easier for me. So my point is, AJ is amazing. As soon as you can get someone like that to help you out in that way, do it, because the first thing you will think is, why did I not do this 6 months ago? So AJ, extremely helpful on everything I work on, but truly does a ton for the Yo's Races Planet with the editing. Makes it really easy for me. So the Yo's Races Planet, similar to Handbook, it's just scheduling. We have set days that we try to record, but sometimes, because we typically record on weekends, sometimes we get busy on the weekends. We're all super busy. And so, honestly, just the challenging thing sometimes with that show is just the three of us we're three busy dudes. And so scheduling can get tricky sometimes. So with Yo, I'm trying to stay ahead of scheduling, and a big thing on my to-do list / goal for the Yo Planet is Suboptimal. So Suboptimal is both the name of the website, suboptimalpods.com, but also I believe $5 or $6 tier that's like a grab bag of really fun content that we release. That's a lot of like one-off stuff. Andrew watches anime with Zig, who's a huge fan of anime. Andrew doesn't really care for it one way or the other. And so they do a show called Gun to My Head on there, where Zig shows Andrew anime and is like, this is awesome. What'd you think? And he's like, it was fine. It's a lot of fun. There's a ton of, Tawny and I did like a bunch of music shows on there. And last week I texted them. I texted Matt Apodaca, Andrew, and Zig. Do you guys want to watch the Fast and the Furious? And we did. We sat literally right here, watched the 2-hour movie. We definitely are going to do more of them. So that's really fun. I want to do more Suboptimal stuff, and I want to unpaywall more Suboptimal stuff as well. We've been chatting about a system, a plan involving that. So that's the Yo Planet. And now I have little meteors. I don't really know they're called, the single shows like Broad Ideas. So there's no several bonus paywalled shows with Broad Ideas. It's just one show that comes out once a week. The dream. I miss that. So I'm very happy with just the simplistic Monday release schedule. So I really just got to focus on, with that show, the way I've figured out, granted, I've only been working on it for a week and a half, but a thing that I'm going to be doing with that is I sent Rachel and Olivia a few dates over the next few weeks. Are you available then? Are you available then? They are. And so now what I'm doing is specifically booking people that I think would be both great guests on their show, but also, I don't want to say like guaranteed, but people with strong, loyal podcast followings, and just see how that influences the download numbers. I'm really hoping that we see bumps with all of those episodes. Some people that you guys all know and love, that I've, myself and co-producer Allie have been reaching out to about booking them on the show. And so that's kind of the game plan with Broad Ideas right now, is just locking in some recordings, some guests that I know are great on mic, but also, very importantly, have built-in podcast followings who will check them out on any show. And then the other thing with that show, as well as Mental and Extra, is cross promo. So I want to get these hosts, Broad Ideas, Extra, and Mental, on as many shows as I possibly can right now, and see how that impacts the downloads. Does that help grow these shows, specifically the new ones, and the new ones that I'm working on? So I'm very excited and curious to see how much it impacts these podcasts. And so I'll keep you posted because, I'm very curious. I'm sure you are as well. And that is really everything. So, uh, let me try to say this in a more like educational, helpful way instead of just solely all of my personal stuff, which is I try to look at it as um, what fire do I need to put out first? What is closest to me, and what is the most important thing? Because I think that's where you like really shine as a producer is how prepped you are for the recordings. And so, do I feel 100% prepped on my shows? I'll be completely honest with you. Some of these I feel way more prepped than others. And so, my goal, as you know, this is a lot of shows, is I want to, the ones that I feel really prepped with for the recordings, just keep doing that. Maybe don't make any major changes. The ones that I feel like I'm kind of B minus, C plusing, how can I, what are a few small things I could do to get it from a B minus to an A minus, or even a B minus to a B plus? So um, that might be part two of my to do list is what are the specific things with each of these shows that I'm going to be working on? We're just going to keep getting more and more and more granular, gang. So, what is the first thing I need to do off in the recording? Because I'm a night owl, I have pods I have to edit tonight. I'm not worried about it. I'm a really good editor and I work with really talented people. And I'm a night owl, probably most importantly of those three. So I don't sweat staying up late editing. Also, I work with hosts that I'm very fortunate that trust me and aren't like, hey, you need to send me a rough cut by 6 so I can listen through. I think all of the hosts I work with are just, maybe definitely the newer ones are going to want to hear the early cuts. I can't just post stuff, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, the Handbook Planet, the Action Boys Planet, um, I just post it. I post the episodes. I send stuff, but very rarely is there like notes. I'm mostly just posting that as well. Because I'm new on Broad Ideas, I'm, emailing that, and I probably will continue to email it. And all the new stuff I'll be emailing as well. So that's nice. That's a nice thing as well, is there's a lot of trust in me as an editor. I think I've proved myself over several years that they don't have to, knock on wood, I'm getting really cocky. They don't have to listen to a past. So that's nice, which allows me to focus on show growth. So I think that's a nice segue into maybe next week's video, is we'll get more granular with show growth. The cross promo stuff that I was talking about, the being very specific with guests that you want to have on, how often are you releasing episodes, social media, marketing. Marketing is such a big part of it. Before I wrap up, I just will very briefly describe, I talked about it a little bit on last week's episode, but I'll just kind of briefly talk about why I think the pilot got greenlit for Mental. There's a few reasons. One, I'm not going to lie, I have a very strong rapport with this network. And so I think there's a lot of trust in me because I've shown on several shows over the last few years that like I'm reliable. And so I think that was definitely a factor, is that I'm trustworthy. I'm not going to screw over the host or the network or the advertisers or the guest or my coworkers. That's a big part of it, is, they like me and I like them a lot. And I think they know that, which is why I really wanted to do it there. So that's a factor of it. It's definitely not the only factor. I've had shows on there that have gotten canceled. I've suggested stuff that like hasn't gotten picked up. So and rightfully so, my like skill set should only get me so far. And honestly, it shouldn't be maybe I shouldn't say a huge part of it. It's a helpful part, but it is definitely not the only part. Where I think I really shone, the past tense of shine, where I really shined it, is someone asked me last week, what goes into the pilot and why do you think they picked it up? Is I want, as a producer, I want to make their job as easy as possible. And so maybe 5, 6 years ago, I could have just kind of vaguely said, here's a rough premise. Here's a name of a host. Here's a potential guest. Very rarely, I shouldn't say very rarely. The only, I think, stuff like that gets greenlit today by networks is like crazy huge talent, like no brainer talent that a network's like, we don't care. We just want to work with that person. So I'm definitely working with talented hosts, but not hosts where they're like, we'll throw millions of dollars at literally anything they say, no questions asked. And frankly, I don't want to work with a network that is like that either. I want to work with people that care about the quality of the content, which is part of why I pitched it here as well. And so, like I said, I want to make their job as easy as possible. And so part of what I thought would work, and it did, is I wanted us to record a pilot and record on another day, a week or two later. And then I wanted us to record a third day a few weeks later. That one we did over Zoom. And I wanted us to take, without really spoiling what the show is about, the best content from all of those recordings and put that in the pilot. And so by the end of it, we had, and we will use most of it, but we had so many good, solid options that when we sent the pilot, I felt so confident because it wasn't just a 1 hour recording where it was like, that's it. Hopefully they like it. It's really hard to get stuff picked up. And so we recorded for several hours. And then, like I said, a few weeks later, several hours. And then a few weeks later, same thing. And then I spent hours and hours and hours editing the show. We did a few drafts of that pilot, where me, the host, and my co-producer, who's extremely talented, we're just workshopping, okay, this part worked, this part's a little dry, we should do pickups to connect these two things. And I agreed with all of this. I thought that, there was a lot of great feedback. It sent the second one, okay, closer, but maybe this instead of that. Let's lose these few lines. And then I added a few very small things in throughout it. That third one, I felt so good. I was like, this is good we're ready to ship this. And so now what we should do, I asked the co-producer, I said, I need you to write two things for me. A 2-sentence log line of the show. Just a very clear, this is the show, this is the talent, and here's another sentence about what the show is. Then I would like you to write 2 paragraphs about the show, a lot more details, because the log line is nice and it's clear and concise, but the network needs more information than just that. So please write the 2-line log line and then 2 paragraphs about the show. He did it. He did a great job. I then spent 90 minutes editing both of those, the 2-line log line and the 2 paragraphs. I was like, great. Thank you so much for doing this. Really good. Here's how I changed it. What do you guys think? They both approved. Then the email that I sent was to all of the heads of the network. I said, hey, everyone, as you know, we recorded, I asked if we could record a pilot in your studio. Here is that pilot, and here's an edited version of it. And here is a 2-line description of the show. Here's a couple paragraphs about it. This is another really important thing that I think helped a lot. Here are confirmed guests. Here are people who have told us they will do the show. Because I think sometimes people just say, here's 45 people we would like to have on the show. Well, cool. that doesn't mean they're going to do it. And so I think adding a line of here's five genuinely impressive names of people who said they would do the show. Also, here's 10 people who I would love for us to do the show. I spent a lot of time on those 10 names because I wanted them to be both impressive and realistic. Sometimes people, and it's fine, they go too much in either direction. They say, like, here's my 4 roommates who I'd like on the show. Again, if that's what you want your show to be, great. And I've seen pitches where it's too far the other way of like, here's who I would like: LeBron, Tom Cruise, Michelle Obama. And it's like, damn, good luck. That'd be a very popular show. I don't know if they're going to do it. And so sometimes you get skeptical that way, where people are, I don't want to say naive, but the names are too big, where it's like, it just doesn't seem realistic. And then really the only thing they asked for was the video of the episode. And because we recorded it and we filmed it rather, and we're working with a really talented video editor, he was able to cut together a really nice video. And then a few weeks later, it got picked up. So I think that helped a lot. Is I sent one really, really strong episode that I spent so much time on, and the log line and the several paragraphs and the confirmed guest and the dream guest. I think it was a really strong. It just came down to a really strong email. No, definitely not. Super talented host who they know and trust, and a lot of good things. So I apologize. I was very much wrapping up the video and then quickly spent 10 minutes talking about, trying to get this thing greenlit. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. That's my experience with it. Every network is different. All of your, every show has different goals. You don't need to be on a network to be successful. Everyone has different definitions of what a successful show is. And my 3 planets and my meteors and shit, they all have different definitions of what success is. So, and again, that's why I really like working with so many different shows. Is I don't want to work with the same kind of host and the same kind of show every single day, every single week. That's boring. I need variety. And so that's why I'm really grateful to work with all of these super talented people. God damn, I'm so good at rambling. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you next week. Stay safe.